blockchain can be used in a shared economy, right? So I was giving that example of a email I received regarding you can own a kind of this like kind of apartment or a kind of a duplex in Goa for 8 lakhs or 5 lakhs, right? Near a like premium location. So that is what the shared economy concept comes rather than owning a kind of if you buy a bungalow or a kind of a two-story apartment in any kind of location, it will cost around 3 to 4 crores or much more than that, right? But the usage is basically if you go to Goa or any Kerala or any kind of locations, maybe in a year, 7 days or 5 days, somebody will be going there and staying there, right? For that, you need not have to pay that big amount, right? So that is a new concept where you are sharing that bungalow, you are sharing that kind of whatever apartment and all those things with different other individuals, right? So each of the individuals who are, so it is kind of a shared renting part, right? Like let's say rental, how we like in most of the cities of Delhi, Bangalore, Mumbai, students or the working professionals, they get together and share, and most of you have done in your student life also, right? In during graduation. So that happens, all of you like kind of share the rent, right? In the same point of time. Now what happens at that particular point of time for that 7 days or 15 days? Let's say I have the ownership of that house. Then after that 15 days, somebody else will have that ownership, right? So this concept is little bit of different, but the financial aspects remain same. Rather than somebody one person bearing the burden of whole amount, whatever 3 crores or 4 crores, it can be shared among different individuals, right? Same concept can be applied, and I think in New York or California they have started that. Rather than people owning a Mercedes or Jaguar or Land Rover or a Ferrari for kind of because it is costly, right? So what will do if I say that okay, I'll just use it for maybe a trip or so in a year, 1 month or 15 days, whenever I go out of city or I want to travel to few locations. So for that time only I want to use that car. So for that period of time, ownership lies with me. Ownership responsibilities lies with me. Right? For other days of the year, that ownership will be transferred to other individuals who are kind of sharing that car with me. Right? So this is where that sharing economy is kind of evolving or kind of lot of applications are happening around it. Right? So this is where yes, sir.
Sir, then in that case, for that particular vehicle, in the RC, whose name will be written on the RC?
RC will be on the company's name. It will be on the company's name, but and the partial ownership lies will be with the owner. So it is basically the concept of a company-owned vehicle. So company-owned vehicle, but for that period of time, the ownership will be transferred to you because it cannot be managed with a RC, fundamentally with a single RC book, right? So this will be a kind of a dynamic revolving ownership. The single ownership will be lies with the company, let's say Mercedes or Ferrari or whichever company you are taking the car. But that time-based ownership or the temporary ownership lies will be that individual who is driving or who is owning that car for that 15 days. Because that cannot be managed with a paper or a whatever current RC system or the current registration system, right? So for that, blockchain will be helping you. Because if let's say you got into accident, you cannot deny that you did not own that car during that time. Because due to the authenticity of blockchain, you can track who owned that car during that period of time, right? He or she will be responsible. Similarly for the houses also.
Okay.
So this is where actually blockchain will play a role and started playing a role. Like I said, this concept what I told about the automobiles, right? Some car manufacturers have started doing that in New York and California. Again, it is not a fully implemented system. At least the idea being discussed and at least the pilot programs have been started running, right? So this is where blockchain can be used, right? Shared economy is one aspect of blockchain where huge implications or huge advantages lies, right? Because the ownership can be tracked, right? That's why, because earlier what used to happen, like he was mentioning, Obviously, a single owner used to be there. You have to either sell the car, right? Now what happens? That ownership on during each period or the temporary ownership will be there. Then the ownership will be transferred to another owner, and that can be tracked, and that data will be authentic. Nobody can tamper with that data. So insurance agencies can use that data. Police authorities can use that data, right, to track who owned that vehicle at what point of time, or any asset. It is not about vehicles. It can be house also. It can be resort. It can be apartment. It can be any asset which can be transferred. So this is where blockchain will have a implication or will have a application. Then, so what I want basically when you present those use cases, try to frame this kind of flow chart, right? Who will be the participant? What kind of this part again? Like if you are able to build that, what will be the applications? Then what kind of blockchain network they'll be using, right? And what being shared, like in case you are doing this kind of activity. So basically, whenever you are presenting, rather than writing a lot of text, try to build a flow chart which will be easier to discuss and easier to kind of understand also, right? Like you did in the last education blockchain. Automotive. So this part we have discussed. Fractional ownership for temporary. Sorry, temporary ownership can be managed. Financial services, obviously cryptocurrency, decentralized finances, a lot of applications are there. Voting is kind of likely to be one of the biggest applications of blockchain, though I do not know whether it has been actually implemented somewhere or not. But that seems to be one of the biggest, because a lot of forgery, lot of kind of mismanagement, tampering of data happens in voting. With the same identity, a person can vote across different locations, right? So Aadhaar is being utilized to fix point one per person's locations and identity. That can be managed through a blockchain also, right? So a hybrid network can be created where the like kind of voting authorities or election commission can have access to data of all the participants, and you can go and vote with your identity, maybe Aadhaar or passport or whichever identity like kind of card you have, and that can be tracked. Right now, what will happen? We do not have a tracking mechanism. With the same identity, persons in different locations can register and vote at different locations. So that can be by using blockchain, that can be tracked. Once you are voted with that identity, that cannot be again utilized in across anywhere in the India or any locations you are voting for. Right? Healthcare data can be like lot of legal problems happen sharing of this health data. Lot of challenges happens when insurance companies try to verify the whether the bills or the like kind of documents provided by the patients during the health insurance verification, right, is correct or not, right? That can be also tracked through a blockchain, right? So the
Sir, your
main
voice is breaking.
hello, hello. Let me switch up my video.
So you're not audible, sir.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So lot of applications again can be thought of in terms of supply chain in automotive, financial services, voting in public sector, and healthcare. Obviously, like voting and healthcare can be both a public and private kind of network applications, right? So I don't think any of you have taken public sector. So if you want to take, still there is time. I hope somebody takes public sector as a like think about different use cases in public sector, including this voting and healthcare, right? Most of you have taken financial services, and I think one group has taken supply chain, right? In supply chain, because what I know is that automotive or the automobile companies are the ones who have started using the blockchain, at least in the supply chain aspect. So this is where your presentations will should focus on taking one sector and discussing 4 to 5 uh, applied cases there in that particular sector. Letter of credit. Uh, some of you might know. Anybody knows what does a letter of credit do? Anyone? What does a letter of credit mean actually? Any of you who have taken finance?
No, sir.
Think about like kind of whenever you are transacting like kind of business to business within India, right? How it happens? Uh, Business to customer, obviously, wherever, like let's say if I am buying, purchasing something, whether it is Amazon, that is online e-commerce, or offline retail stores, any electronic store, any wherever I purchase as a customer, right? How the payment happens? I'll go and choose the item. If it is offline store, I'll make the payment. It never happens that you deliver the item and later on I'll make the payment, right? It never happens like that. Similarly, if a business is purchasing something, right? Payment terms are basically decided, pre-decided between them. So like most of the like payment terms happens in such a way that you deliver the item after 7 days, 15 days or 30 days, the payment will be made, right? So within India, there is a legal framework. So you know that if somebody doesn't make a payment, you can go to a court, right? There will be obviously a binding contract with you. But in import, what happens when two countries or few countries are involved? How will you trust other countries' regulation? Let's say you are a supplier in India, a customer in Bangladesh or Nepal, right, or Thailand. Somebody wants to purchase the equipment from you. You are like marketing manager or sales manager in this India-based company. Now, what happens when different countries are involved? Which legal framework will be? Obviously, there will be arbitration authority, right? For all these aspects, one arbitration authority will be kind of appointed. So, any kind of dispute, any kind of problem, that authority will be handling that. But again, that is a troublesome and it takes a lot many years. So, think about the payment system. In a customer purchasing something, even if you purchase in e-commerce, maximum thing can happen without you paying the advance. What happens? Cash on delivery. Somebody provides you the whatever you have bought, dresses, like kind of equipment, electronic items, anything you have bought. It can be like cash on delivery or advance payment. It never happens that okay, you will use the item and you will pay it later. But in business to business, it is most of the time, 99% of the time, after delivery happens, after somebody provided the service or provided the product, after minimum 7 days, 15 days, sometimes 30 days, 45 days, if it is a government agency, it can be up to 60 days also, right? So imagine a scenario, you have provided the equipment after 30 days or 45 days, you'll get the payment. So inside a country, it exists, this kind of payment system exists and everybody abides by the same rules or same legal authority. But when transaction happens between two countries, when you are exporting a equipment or a product to a different country or importing something from, let's say, Europe or USA, how the payment will be made? It is very difficult to understand different legal implications, taxation, and all those things. So there are different these import terms, they call it INCO. One of the fundamental aspect of using Incoterms is this letter of credit. What does it mean? Let us take an example. Let's say whichever company, let's say Heat wants to import certain equipment from USA. What will happen? Heat will open an, let's say the like tender has happened, everything has been finalized, supplier has also been identified. Now the only thing has to happen that we will send an purchase order saying that okay, you deliver this equipment or this order. Now what happens whenever there is a inter-country transaction like this, the buyer, let's say KIIT University is purchasing, right? So they will open a letter of credit with, let's say, State Bank of India. Let's say the item worth is 1 crore. So KIIT University will open a letter of credit in the name of the supplier. Let's say we are buying certain servers from HP or whichever company, right? Let's say HP. So KIT University will open a letter of credit in the name of HP in State Bank of India. Now, State Bank of India will inform the bankers of HP USA or HP Europe from wherever we are purchasing that okay, you have a letter of credit in your name, which was created by KIT University. This is worth of rupees 1 crore, and like whatever the transaction date has been fixed, exchange rate will be fixed, and you'll get this much amount of money, right? So on what base they will get that money, right? So it is not about the delivery of equipment or delivery of item, it is delivery of documents. So what are those documents? The packing slip, invoice, delivery slip, whenever you have dispatched those items, and obviously the warranty and all other associated documents about the product. So what happens? Imagine the scenario. KIT University opened a letter of credit in the name of HP in State Bank of India. State Bank of India will inform, let's say, Bank of America, who is the banker for HP. Now HP, once they receives a copy of letter of credit that yes, KIT University has opened a letter of credit in their name. Now they'll send the equipment through whatever air transport or ship transport, whichever like kind of delivery mechanism. Once they have dispatched, they have all the documents with them. The packing slip, invoice, warranty information, all the information is available. All the documents are available. They'll send the documents to Bank of America. Bank of America will verify the document. That documents will be sent to State Bank of India. State Bank of India will send that document copy to this KIT University. KIT University again will verify the document and say that yes, the documents are okay. With this document, I can go and get my item from the port, whichever airport or whichever shipping port, right? Documents are okay, right? You can release the payment. Now SBI will release the payment with Bank of America, and Bank of America obviously like HP has a account in Bank of America, right? So see how the transaction is happening. Document verification is happening and the payment is being made based on the document verification, not on the delivery, right? So now that is where authentication of documentation, verification of those documents is very critical. Somebody tampers, actually they have not sent the equipment and they just create a fake document, right? And send it across, and you do not have a choice, you do not have that kind of intelligence to verify that, right? In that case, you have made a payment and actually item has not come, right? So that is why the authenticated document, how authentic those documents are, and whether you have a mechanism to verify it, right? So that is a critical importance in this formation of letter of credit. Almost all the imports or export which happen, right, is based on letter of credit. So a importer, whichever person or agency or company is importing something, they will open an account, open a letter of credit with importers bank. Importers bank will inform the exporters bank, whoever is exporting the item, exporters bank will inform the exporter. And parallelly your shipment and documentation verification happens, and the payment or the letter of credit means I'm opening a amount that okay, you will provide me these documents, then the payment will be released. That is the meaning of letter of credit, right? So these are the few steps. So sales contract or the purchase order was being made, that was the first step. Second step will be the importer will open a letter of credit, the request of letter of credit. Then SBI, let's say in this case of importer is KIT University, the importer's bank is SBI. SBI will open a letter of credit with exporter's bank. Exporter's bank will deliver the letter of credit to exporter. Once exporter says, yes, I have a letter of credit in my name, they'll make the shipment. They'll send the documents to their bank. Their bank will send the document to SBI. SBI will ask it like kind of check the document authentication, check with the importer and make the payment to exporter's bank. Then these documents will be shared with the importer so that based upon those documents, this person can go and get the shipment from the porting authority, right? Wherever the equipments are there, right? So the payment is being made only on the authenticity of the document, not on the, so nobody is checking the equipment whether it was delivered or not. It is only on the documentation, right? So that is the meaning of letter of credit. So the problem, what happens, the number of people who are involved and the number of times the communication happens, right? Rather than having this kind of system, whether you, if you have a consortium, these people have a consortium of banks, right? And they have a formalized blockchain system where document can be authentic documents. So you know that documents are authentic and they can be verified very quickly, right? You do not have to send to some third-party agency to verify the documents, right? Because that is the important part, right? The documents need to be true, correct, information need to be correct and can be verified, right? So rather than creating this, so many transactions, so many links, if you have a distributed kind of blockchain system where these are the participants, right? Then the, rather than having 9 or 10 communications, again, you need to verify the document, authenticate the document. That can be done through a blockchain system, right? Any transaction is happening, it will be part of that blockchain. So once it is part of the blockchain and third party people or people who have been authorized, right? You might implement a proof of authority, right? And they will be the authorized one who will verify the documents, and that can be like authenticated and verified very quickly, right? So that is how banks, many banks are trying to move from this traditional system to a blockchain system of using a letter of credit. Any questions on this? Any questions on letter of credit, or why the kind of banks are moving from traditional system? Because these generally takes 30 to 45 days, completing all document verification, checking. Yes, Sagar.
Sir, I got disconnected, sir, a few minutes back. Sir, can you tell me the last portion, what you were saying? I didn't listen to that.
Where did you miss?
Uh,
Up to what point you have
sir, sir, importers bank and exporters bank up to that. Sir, after that, how the process continues?
Yeah, so basically the process is you open a purchase order, you say that okay, you send the equipment or you send the product to this location, there is the sales contract. So importer opens a sales contract with the exporter. Then parallelly they open a letter of credit with their own bank. Let's say KIT University opens a letter of credit with State Bank of India in the name of exporter. Let's say we are buying a server or buying certain equipment, computer equipment from Lenovo or HP or IBM, right? So we open a letter of credit in the name of IBM in State Bank of India. State Bank of India will inform Bank of America that we have a letter of credit in the name of IBM, let's say New York or Washington, from KIT University. Exporters Bank, Bank of America will inform the IBM, right, that you have a letter of credit in your name. Once they get that information, they will make the shipment. They'll like send the equipment or server or whichever item, right, to air transport or shipping transport. Then document they'll send through whatever all the documents they'll send through this exporter bank. Exporter bank will send the documents to SBI. Let's say Bank of America will send the document to SBI. SBI will show the document to like kind of KIT University and ask that whether documents are correct or not. If all the documents are present, they will release the payment to Bank of America. Obviously, they have a IBM has a account in Bank of America, so they will get the payment. So the payment is being made based on the documentation, not on the delivery of equipment or delivery of that product, right? Only after checking the verifying the documents, verifying the authenticity of those documents, payment is being made. So that is where actually blockchain can help you, because blockchain, yeah.
So if some problem arises in the items, if the product is defective, then how bank will help, or how the importer will contact the exporter?
there will be generally a clause, right? That okay, if after checking the 10%, generally 90% of the payment is being made. 10% is always kept back after 1 month or 3 months of delivery that is being made. But let's say 50% of the items are bad or defective, right? Because that will only cover up to 10%. But let's say there is 50% of items are bad or defective or like got damaged during transportation, right? So one part, whether it is actually manufacturing defect. If it is a manufacturing defect, the items will be returned. So there will be a clause. If it is a manufacturing defect, it will be returned, and either you'll get back the money, or generally like you do it in e-commerce, right? There will be replacement of items or replacement of product. But if it was damaged during the transit, damaged during transportation or delivery, right? Who has the ownership during that time, right? Then that will be processed through insurance company, right? So here also a major player or stakeholders which is not mentioned here will be insurance agencies. If any damage happens during transportation or delivery, right? Let's say importer, if they have opened the insurance, transit insurance, then that will be processed through insurance. The insurance company will check whether really it was damaged during transportation. If yes, then they will make the payment. So that is the mechanism how it works.
Then sir, again it will take around
Yes,
40
yes.
to 45.
Yes,
Or,
not 40 to 45 days. It takes months and months, because insurance companies will send their persons, they'll physically verify whether it has been damaged or not. So it might take more than that, 3 to 6 months to complete all the process. So that's why import is a challenge. Importing items is a big challenge.
Then sir, this damage.
Yeah,
Hello.
good.
Yes, sir. Then this damage thing, how this can be means how bit blockchain help in this damage? Will it reduce the time, or the time of replacement will be same in case of blockchain also? If you implement blockchain in this system.
See, the transportation blockchain cannot help you to like increase the like or reduce the transportation time or the delivery time, right? That is still managed by the actual physical transportation has to happen, right? Where blockchain can help you, the reducing the time it takes to verify the documents, because it is already established system. The documents can be verified very quickly rather than being sent to different banks, different insurance agencies, which used to take let's say months of verifying the document. It can be done in few days or few weeks, right? But not the transportation part. Let's say your products are damaged, right? Now you'll put a request. That request can be processed very quickly. But now, anyhow, you need those equipment, right? Again, that whichever the like kind of let's say exporter, right? Whoever has sent you that equipment, he will again send the equipment through air or sea. It will again take months of time, right? Or at least if it is a sea, it will take 15 days or 20 days or 3 weeks of time to deliver to India, from USA to India, at least 3 weeks to 1 month. If it is air transport, maybe in few days it can be delivered, right? But again, that transportation time cannot be reduced because that is a physical transportation. Where blockchain can help you reducing the time frame of verifying the documents, whether a insurance agency is verifying the documents, whether banks are verifying the documents. Earlier it used to take at least 3 to 4 weeks, because it will moving around from different banks to other banks. Now that can, if it is a centralized authority, you are like all of the stakeholders are using the single blockchain system, it can be verified quickly. Authenticity of the document can be verified quickly.
Okay, sir. So what is this permission distributed ledger?
Permission already we have discussed, right? Permission, permissionless, public,
No, sir.
private.
Yes. Sir, this blockchain model, sir, I got disconnected. That's why I.
Yes, so this was discussed last class. Permission, permissionless was discussed last class.
So this traditional model, I understood this traditional model. This blockchain model, can you explain this again?
Yeah, blockchain is basically if you have a centralized blockchain system where all your importers, all the companies who are importing items, right? And all the banks are participant of that blockchain, right? So you will not have lot many people who are involved in that verifying the documents or verifying the transactions. Now you have a centralized system, which is documents cannot be tampered with. If you, let's say, you have created a import document, let's say invoice or a packing slip, on that date, you cannot change those date, you cannot change any quantity, right? So that those things are tamper proof in a blockchain. But a PDF file, you can change any, like after sending, you can change the quantity, change the price, right? That cannot happen in a blockchain. Images of products, of dispatching, that cannot be tampered with. So all those things, any document which you are putting on blockchain, once you put in a blockchain, later on you can. So that is a big challenge in traditional management of documents. Let's say the order value or the order quantity is 10. I'll modify it to 5 and send it to bank, and I'll send only 5 quantity, right? So those kind of changes or those kind of tampering of data cannot happen in a blockchain. At least in the current model of blockchain, it cannot happen. So now what happens? Document whatever you are putting on blockchain are at least authentic to maximum extent. That cannot be later on changed, right? Later on somebody cannot modify those documents. So earlier what used to happen, to verify all those documents used to take a lot of time. That can be reduced. So if you have a centralized system based upon blockchain, which is being used by the banks and the whichever the importing or exporting agencies or the companies, right? So that is where blockchain can help you.
It will reduce the time of documentation.
Documentation processing.
Got it, sir. Thank you.
So adoption of blockchain. So again, this is a framework like kind of used or kind of popularized by Harvard Business School. And it can be not only for blockchain, it can be utilized for different kind of technologies, right? So degree of novelty, degree of newness, how new or how innovative that kind of technology is, or that application is, not necessarily the technology, the application part. Then the amount of complexity and coordination is required, right? Low and high, and degree of novelty, degree of newness, or degree of innovativeness, low or high. Currently, if you see, like not current, for the last 8 to 10 years, right? Wherever we have using blockchain, right? Mostly right now it is on the Bitcoin payment, right? Single use, you want to purchase something, you want to transfer certain amount of money, Bitcoin payments or the, when I say Bitcoin, not only Bitcoin, Ethereum, you can use different cryptocurrencies, not only Bitcoin, right? So this is where the degree of innovativeness, rather than sending rupees or sending dollars, you are sending Bitcoin, right? Or you are transferring Bitcoin or Ethereum or whichever one, right? Degree of complexity or coordination is also low, because I can send to you like any of you. So one-to-one transaction of money, one-to-one transaction of assets, right? So that is where the degree of novelty, degree of newness, or degree of complex coordination is also low. If I move to a little bit of higher end, where degree of newness is still low, but your number of coordination, number of complexity, there is an increase in complexity or coordination. Why? Because you have to involve third party agents. Like let's say right now, I want to send a voucher or a kind of a gift card based on Bitcoin. So for that, it is not a one-to-one transaction. I'm not making a payment to person B or person C. I am putting a gift card or a voucher in Amazon. Again, a Bitcoin. Right now, you can buy those gift voucher in Amazon or Flipkart, 1,000 rupees, 500, 50 rupees even, right? And you can send to your friends as a birthday gift or kind of a anniversary gift, wherever is applicable, right? So rather than having those gift card based on rupees or US dollars, that can be also made through Bitcoin payment or Ethereum payment, right? So now what happens? Rather than it is a person A to person B, person A is buying a gift card in Amazon, which is a third-party agency, or Flipkart, which is a third-party agency, and that third-party agency is transferring that gift card to person B, right? So now what happens? The level of coordination required is little bit of more. because you need to have a third party agency involved, like all those e-commerce players in market, right? So that is where little bit of increase in complexity or coordination is like required. If you go to the like kind of right side bottom of this framework, right? Localization, where degree of newness is high, complexity is still low. Private online ledgers to process financial transactions. Here, think of the private network. In private network, you are making a payment to your suppliers. Your suppliers also are making payment to their suppliers, right? That part of transaction, rather than making transactions at rupees or USD or whatever payment mechanism you have, right? That can be also made through these blockchain systems, whether it is Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, or Stellar, or whichever cryptocurrency you are using, right? So that is where the degree of mobility is high. Level of coordination is still low because it is a internal within your company, right? You might make your payment to a supplier, single supplier, or you might make payment to your maintenance agencies, right? Housekeeping agencies, right? So the level of coordination required is within this company, within few suppliers, right? Few stakeholders, right? But think about the letter of credit point what we discussed. Right now, think of the stakeholders involved. There is a importer, there is a exporter, there is importers bank, there is exporters bank. There will be this FedEx or DHL who are transporting the actual equipment. There will be insurance agencies. So different type of organizations involved. There is a product company, there are product companies, there are manufacturing companies, there are banks, there are like kind of delivery agencies like FedEx, DHL, there are insurance agencies, 5 or 6 different type of organizations. If they get involved, they can carry out this. We have not discussed smart contracts. We'll discuss in next class. There is something called self-executing smart contract. Letter of credit can be kind of converted into a self-executing smart contract. What do you mean by a smart contract? Think about a contract. So I have a contract with you. If you kind of complete this work, I'll pay you, let's say 10 rupees or 30 rupees. That is a contract, physical contract. Or if you deliver this product, I'll pay you 1,000 or 5,000 rupees. That is a contract with Amazon. Cash on delivery. If you send me this equipment, send me this dress, I'll pay you 5,000 rupees. That is a contract. How that can be made smart? Here, if I make a digital contract in such a way that if this clause, like if and then scenario, you create a structure of code. Okay, if this item has been sent, tracking slip, invoices, all those documents are verified, the payment will be made. So there is no additional involvement of humans like you or me. So the contract is smart because it can happen based upon certain code or logic. You need not have to have an interaction. You need not have to involvement of human intelligence. So what does it mean? If somebody, if these documents are verified and these transactions are verified, then the payment will be made, right? So that is what we are discussing letter of credit. Earlier, what used to happen? Bankers will verify the, like there will be humans who will verify the documents. They will say, yes, the documents are correct. Then the payment will be made. So it used to take from different desks. It will go to different persons, different individuals will verify the documents. Now what happens? If you have a smart contract, certain codes, certain logic, we'll discuss in detail what does a smart contract do. But in a basic term, in a layman term, smart contract is a block of codes, block of logic, if and then clause, right? If these documents are there, then make the payment, right? So documents, the code will check whether these documents are there, then the payment will be made to the bank, right? So that is where the complexity is high, involvement of stakeholders also high, because different organizations need to be involved. Manufacturing company, product company, your banks, your insurance agencies, your delivery agencies, all these agencies need to be part of that blockchain to make it a success. So this is where all the like companies are aiming at. Our end goal of implementing blockchain will be where we can implement this self-executing smart contract. One of the example was this letter of credit, right? So that is where the transformation will come. So we start with a single use. I make a payment to you rather than paying on rupees. So the first Bitcoin payment was buying a pizza. So I think the 27 BTC or something they paid to buy 2 pizza. In today's currency terms, it will be in few crores. I think 5 crore or 10 crore amount of money they paid to buy only 2 pizzas back in 2010. The person, the actual physical like transaction which happened through Bitcoin. So that is a single use. I buy some items, but I make a kind of transfer through certain agency to e-commerce, right? I create a gift card, right? So that will be little bit of additional complexity will be increased, right? Because you need to have a involvement of a third party or additional agencies like e-commerce agencies, right? Final one which you're looking at is self-executing smart contract, something like letter of credit, which we discussed in the previous slide, right? That will be our end goal. Any questions on this? So this is where we are at now. Most of the like feasibility, because financial services were the first one to their work in. Feasibility is high, but if you see the public sector, right, the impact is very high. Public sector, think of healthcare, think of government land records, think of voting mechanism, right? Public sector seem to be a high, like where the adoption, if blockchain can be adopted, the impact would be very huge, right? Lot of corruption, lot of tampering of data can be do away with. Think about the legal challenge of managing this land disputes. Everybody claims I think most of your family have gone through these kind of challenges. Some of you or some of your families might have bought the land, and it always go to a dispute on who owns the land, right? Because the documentation part is so complex and it can be tampered with, right? So many involvement of so many human kind of representative or stakeholders, right? It becomes very difficult to like kind of claim a land or claim a ownership on a land through these court battles, right? Lot of things, those kind of challenges can be do away with if blockchain can be implemented. But again, implementing that also is challenge, because government has to agree. The persons who are involved, they need to be technologically good enough to at least use or understand how blockchain works, right? Common people like you and me should trust the system that okay, blockchain, how it works, right? So that's why the complexity is also high, the impact is also high, right? So that is where the maximum impact of blockchain will come. So maximum impact means it will involve all the individuals, right? People like you, common people like you and me can be benefited from it, right? But right now, if you see, most of the use cases will be from financial services, because the feasibility, the application easiness of application is right now, because uh, it is asset, cryptocurrency is asset, and people have started using it. Managing it as a system, using it as a complete framework is little bit of tricky. So that is the definition of an idea. Rather than just thinking it as a asset, thinking it can be only as a cryptocurrency, right? Blockchain can be idea where it is not solving a single problem. It can be utilized for solving a multiple problems, whether it is a public sector, financial sector problems, right? It can be utilized in many sectors. Supply chain, there are a lot of inefficiencies lies in supply chain. So I'm not telling it will solve all the problems. It is not true. Like that question is, Swagat was asking whether it will reduce the overall time. Yes, there's documentation verification, but transportation itself is tricky. If you are sending certain items from here to USA, it is still takes 3 to 4 weeks, because transportation logistics part is still inefficient. Out of that, at least the document verification that can be controlled, that can be managed, that can be improved through blockchain. But actual transportation still takes time, and it will till we have a faster transportation or different mechanism, right? It will still take time, right? So that there blockchain cannot help, right? So advantages, disintermediation. Disintermediation means rather than having a
Sir,
yes,
so can
yes,
you go back to the previous slide?
yes.
So here it is mentioned that blockchain also helps in transports and logistics. Then, sir, if it will not reduce this transport time, then how it will help in transport and logistics? This blockchain.
Only the documentation part. See, actually, it is not a physical transportation mechanism, right? The number of times, number of hours, number of days, number of months it takes to ship from USA to India, that transportation time cannot be there. That remains same, right? But the documentation processing. So everywhere, wherever you see, only thing blockchain does is document verification and authentication. So that time can be reduced. Either it will be utilized to authenticate the document or verify the document very quickly. Not on the physical transport. Yeah.
Okay, so that means you are saying that whatever time it was earlier taking for the documentation, along with that around 3 to 4 weeks for transportation, that documentation process will be minimum, means that will become less.
Yes.
So then what about these utilities?
Utilities are basically electricity payment, electricity management. So all these water, whatever in metros, if you use water, you pay bill for water usage, you pay bill for electricity, right? Lot of disputes happen that who is using that. I have not used that, right? So during that time I was not at home, but still I have got a this much 1,000 rupees of water bill, 5,000 rupees of electricity bill, right? So that also can be managed through, because your ownership, let's say you have rented a apartment, so all those things can be managed through, again depending upon, when I say all, again you have to take with a pinch of salt. It is not all, some of it can be utilized in through blockchain. Most of the bill which you get, electricity, your water bills, right, lot of dispute happens on that. That also can be, the documentation process can be managed through blockchain. Any kind of process wherever you need any documentation, billing system, payment system, blockchain, the only part what it does is managing the documentation authentically, can be verified very quickly. So that is the advantage of blockchain. Actual, let's say you have a electricity failure, that blockchain cannot help you. So it is not that it is going to improve your electricity availability or water availability. What it can improve is managing your water bills, managing, authenticating your electricity bills, right? So that part can be managed. Utilities are basically that electricity or water, whatever utility you use. Clear?
सर एक और डाउट आ रहा है
Yeah.
सर हमारी इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का जो बिल हम लोग पे करते हैं वो तो सर हम लोग मीटर के ऊपर डिपेंड करता है ना, अगर मीटर में जितना यूनिट उठा उस हिसाब से हम लोग का पेमेंट होता है.
Yeah.
पर सर उसमें तो कोई ऐसा डिस्प्यूट तो होता नहीं है कि नहीं हम लोग ने ज्यादा नहीं जलाया, वो तो सर मीटर तो सही रीडिंग देगा और मीटर के रीडिंग के हिसाब से ही हम लोग पेमेंट करते हैं. तो सर ये तो सर लग नहीं रहा है कि ये इतना मतलब यूटिलिटीज इतना मतलब इम्पोर्टेंट है, मींस ब्लॉकचेन को यूटिलिटीज में मतलब आने के लिए कोई अभी जरूरी नहीं है सर, मैं वही सोच रहा हूँ.
No, electricity is, think about the offices, big offices. What happens? The lot of electricity being used, right? Now what happens? Let's say there is a 8-floor buildings and there are hundreds of companies, right? So what happens? Lot of this, even at home also, apartments. You think you are correct that it comes from the meter, but whether that metering management is correct or not, that can be managed through blockchain. So now what happens? Somebody comes and reads from the meter that, okay, this is whatever 36585 last year digit. Right now it is 38934, let's say. So you have utilized around 280 or 380 units, right? So that is each month there is a database management of system. It is telling that, okay, this is, have you seen your meter in apartment? If it is an individual house, yes. Big apartment where 300 residents are staying, or big office where 100 of companies are working, right? There is a centralized database system where all the metering data is going and somebody is putting, last month you used 500 units, this month you have used 1,000 units, right? Whether that is a tamper proof or not, nobody knows. Whether somebody is adding 50 units or 100 units, nobody knows. Household units, yes, because you can go outside your house and see that yes, in meter this is the number.
Yes, sir, I
That-
was just talking about the household units.
Yeah, household
Means
units because you have a
small size that
individual houses, yes, cannot be like doesn't have a much impact.
got it, sir. Thank you.
Now advantages disintermediation. You do not like right now the payment are happening like I can send you a 0.005 Bitcoin. I do not have to send through any UPI. I do not have to send through any central agencies, right? So that part is disintermediation, right? No involvement of a central agency. High quality data, like I said, that is the big application of blockchain where we are telling documents are authentic, tamper proof, durability and security. Money kept in bank, obviously that is still secure, but lot of banks fail. We have seen back in 2008, 2012, financial crisis happens. At least blockchain, I'm not telling cryptocurrency value, obviously right now a lot of fluctuation in cryptocurrency value, but it is durable, secure, right? If you have a, think about this, lot of hacking happens to your internet banking. There will be some spam calls from SBI or ICICI saying that you have lost your ATM card or your ATM card has been kind of cancelled. Provide me the PIN, provide me the CVV number. Lot of these kind of things happens in India, USA, any country you can think of, right? So that kind of challenge won't be there in this kind of cryptocurrency market, right? Obviously, they have their other challenges which we'll discuss. So in that case, durability and security is more in cryptocurrency part. High level of integrity, again, that authenticity of data, what we talked about, because it always think about land records. I bought a land from some person, then I sold that land to some other person. Because land transactions keeps happening for last 100 years, 50 years, it is keep happening like that, right? Somebody is buying a land after 1 year or 2 year or 10 years, they are selling to some other. So during that period of time, somebody will come and say that, no, I have that ownership. They will change certain records on Tahsil office and other offices and say that, no, I had bought that land. I rather than you do not have that ownership, and there will be a court case, right? Now what happens? And like 5 years or 10 years will go on checking the documents, who has bought when, all those things, right? Now what happens if you have a, obviously I'm not telling it is easy, it is very difficult, close to impossible to convince all the state government to put the land records into blockchain, right? But let's say theoretically, hypothetically it happens, it becomes very easy, right? Within a click of a button, you know that how the land like kind of ownership has been transferred from one person to another. Complete history of last 50 years or 100 years, right? So those court cases which used to take 10 years or 5 years can be solved within 1 month. Still there will be dispute. I'm not telling everybody will agree to that, but at least the decision part, court can just log into the centralized system and check that who actually owns the, who has the authority to sell that land, and they can make a decision. Right now it is taking kind of 10 of like 5-10 years, much more than that, right? Immutability and transparency. Most of the public blockchain, like I said, you know that obviously you do not know the address, but you know that what are the monetary transactions are happening, right? Yes, sir.
Sir, 9:40 हो गया sir. Sorry for.
Okay. Not a problem. We will discuss these advantages and disadvantages. We'll maybe take 10 or 15 minutes next class. I think that has 1 or 2 slides left. Anyway, we'll discuss that in the next class. Your quiz will be available by 9:45. Like I said, there will be 10 questions, 10 minutes. Try to complete it by 9:55, right? And please start preparing your presentations, right? Do not let it be the last minute work. Divide the work among your 4 or 5 members. Each one of you can prepare one use case. Then the first slide is about that industry and last slide is about the future kind of scenarios or future application places, right? So with that, if there are no questions, I'll close the sessions. Please log in into your Gmail account and within 2 or 3 minutes, the quiz will be live. Any last question?
Some mail आएगा तो sir.
Yes, in the Google Classroom, you'll get an email. Through Google Classroom, you'll get an email. Okay. Just by 9:45, I'll open the link. Okay. If there are no last questions, take care. We'll meet next class.